guilty pleas related to this, as much as the Trump administration tries to deny this. I mean, Michael Flynn, the National Security Advisor, pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI about his interactions with Russia.
Because he lost his house, and because they were going to go after his son, and he didn't want his son to lose his house. Had nothing to do with anything germane or anything to do with an investigation of collusion. And this another book nerd, and here's Camarada going, oh, please give me something. Didn't Trump do something wrong? To which the nerd said, well, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't talk about that. But the more we look at this, the more there's something wrong. Let me tell you something, people. Stare at yourself in the mirror this morning. Turn on a bunch of lights. And keep staring until you find something wrong. I guarantee it's not going to take too long. When I listen to these rats, especially this little scumbag, look at the face on this little Mata Hari. Boy, I just like to slap the shit out of her. See, people say you shouldn't hit a woman. Evidence Exhibit A. Slap the shit out of her. This disgusting, evil-looking little Jezebel. Every day she gets up on a Trump hunt. Say that 3 times fast. Because I got to tell you, if CNN isn't taken off television, their ratings are below Yogi Bear cartoons. But every morning, for amusement, I turn it on to hear the same diatribe and nonsense, as they say in Australia. I got to tell you, it's amazing. Now we're going to go back to Putin. You know, none of the stuff that Obama did offended them. Nobody at CNN wants to know why did Hillary and Bob Mueller sign off on selling the Russians uranium. How come that didn't bother any of them? They just keep regurgitating this. Oh, there was a meeting with the Russians, and it's like the movie, The Russians Are Coming, with the quote. Emergency, emergency. Everybody is to get from street. You remember that movie, The Russians Are Coming? My favorite movie in the 60s. And I just can't get over this. But when they were good communists, when they did not like America because we were capitalist imperialists, these libtards at CNN loved them. Remember the Gorbasm every time they saw Gorbachev? Dun, 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 dun. And of course, Ronnie Reagan, who they called Ray-Guns. Do you all remember that? And now they wax poetic about Ronnie Reagan would sit down and have a beer with Tip O'Neill. People used to work good together in them days. Unless you lived then, and you have the IQ higher than a dead Bush, and you remember the endless attacks on Reagan, and how they sided with Gorbachev and the Ruskies, because in those days, Boris Badenov, they were good communists. Now they're Christian again. They found their center. They've gravitated back to Eastern Orthodox Christianity. And these libtard Bolsheviks are like a jilted woman. Ruskies were always their place of gravity. So you got to understand what this is really all about. And here comes Trump from deepest, whitest Whitelandia, the ultimate goyim. His hair glows in the dark. It's so blonde and red. They can't stand that. Hail Mary, full of grace. Keep the goyim in second place. See? They want to control the world. The Jewish banking network, the Rothschilds, the greatest cowboys that ever lived, Rollin', 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 keep them goyim rollin', give them all the socialism now. That's what they're about, because they're always at the top of the pyramid. And they know you could get in the mosh pit and make bricks without straw. It's all in the book of Exodus. They did it in Egypt. They did it in Spain, and then the Inquisitors came. And by the way, it's always one of their own that kills them. Schicklgruber, Torquemada. Yeah, Thomas D. Torquemada. Look it up. The Inquisitor. He was a converso. You know what that means? A Catholized mushpuka. Hey? But don't teach the truth. Go look who spawned Bolshevism. Go read what they said when they came here en masse, having escaped the pogroms of Russia and Germany. And we took them in here, and they had to go to Colombia. They needed to get a beach hold on an Ivy League school, and the only one that would let them in at the time, because they were Jews, was Colombia. They got their educations, and they knew they had to get into the media, and so they started a company called Columbia Broadcasting System. That was CBS. And then their cousin Mushbuka started NBC, Sondheim and all those guys, which begat RCA, because you had to have an electronic company to make the televisions. And it was then they took over our media, the Washington Post, the New York Slime. That's what they did. And their narrative, ever since those 30s and 40s, was to push this country to the left. They took over Hollywood. They went out to Hollywood because they wouldn't obey the laws of propriety in making movies and marketing them, because Edison had all the patents. People don't know this. So they went to California, which then was the wild, wild west. We're talking early part of the 1900s. And they just disobeyed all the laws and patent rights. Speaking of them, here we go, Sorkin. And this is what they do. God gave them the 10 Commandments. And by the time they were done circling the golden calf, they had opened up a law school on how to get around the law. Israel, to contend with God. Ever since I knew thee, thy was a rebellious people. I'm talking history, folks. I'm talking about a record that's indisputable, timeless as it is unbelievable, because they just keep rolling along, taking down empires, destroying nations, obliterating cultures. And this is why we're where we are. You remember when CNN used to actually report the news when Ted Turner owned them? And he was a liberal, but they were, remember Bernard Shaw? Remember the coverage of the Gulf War in the early 90s? You remember they had actual, real news? You got to claim our culture back. We have to look at this like Trump is just the first crack in the wall, the first of many to come that are going to bring America back, the way Putin is looking at bringing Russia back. That's why they hate when Trump says, I don't know, I think it would be nice if we were friends with Russia. See? No, they'd rather have nuclear missiles pointed at our heads. Read your Bible, read history. It's not what they're telling us.